Hello, and welcome to My Community, produced by the Library Television Network. We're glad that you've joined us today, and we have an interesting topic to talk about. It's in-home caregiving, and I am very pleased to have with us the Operating Director of Cornerstone Caregiving here in Charleston, West Virginia, Mr. Scott Feldhaus. Scott has a rich history in this business. He has lots of experience. And Scott, we welcome you to My Community. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we want to talk a little bit, Scott, about how did you get interested in this type of career?
Well, back in 2010 was when I really first got into healthcare.
Okay.
So Eric Hicks, he's a owner of another caregiving company in the area. He hired me to do sales and marketing for home care.
Okay.
And, he's one of those people I've always looked up to, always admired. He's taught me a lot about the business. And now we joke because I'm his competitor. So we joke back and forth. I say, you taught me everything I know, so it's your fault.
That's right.
But no, I started back in 2010, and I've been doing home care for about 8 years.
And in West Virginia especially, I know that you service the Charleston area, but even beyond the Charleston area. But in West Virginia, we are known for having an aging population. So I would imagine that the need is very great. And it's not an age thing. I mean, you would service anyone who would need in-home caregiving, and that doesn't have an age on it. But I would imagine, even though you have some competition out there, there's a real need for this in our state. Would you agree with that?
100% would agree with that. There's a huge need for it. Sadly, there's people that need it now, but they wait too long to get it. So they kind of, when it's time to move into an assisted living,
right.
When I worked in assisted living field, we noticed that people were moving in too late. They almost needed skilled nursing at the time that they were trying to move into assisted living.
Okay.
So there is a need for it. There's options that are available. I think the main thing is for people just to know what those options are and to be educated on what's out there for them.
And that's what we really want to talk about, because sometimes you don't give it much thought until you're faced with something, like an illness or Alzheimer's, some condition that you really need someone to help you. And I know that many people they don't know where to turn. So how would someone who needs your services, and we want to talk about all the services that are provided by Cornerstone Caregiving, what do people do unless they hear about it from a friend, a word of mouth, or someone else, says, hey, I used Cornerstone, check them out. What do people do? How do they find you? I guess is the question I'm asking.
Well, they always can. A lot of people look it up on the internet,
Okay.
a Google search for in-home care or
Sure.
caregivers. But a lot of times it's social workers at hospitals, nursing homes, assisted livings. It's nurse practitioners and nurses and doctors at physician offices that are telling people about these services. I think it's important to, I've spent a lot of my lifetime now working in healthcare trying to explain the difference between home health and home care.
And what is the difference?
The difference is home health is skilled care.
Okay.
So that is physical therapist, occupational therapist, skilled nurses, that will come into the home and help with skilled care, skilled needs.
That's home health care.
Yes, and that is paid by insurance because it is a skilled need.
Okay.
Home health or home care, what we do is non-medical personal care and companion care.
Okay.
So that consists of someone needs assistance with bathing, ambulation throughout the home and transfers maybe from a bed to a wheelchair. Someone needs help being taken to doctor's appointments, grooming, dressing. They might need help with medication management. They might need help with, for example, meal preparation. That's
Sure.
important.
Yes.
People need, it's very important that they are taking their medications properly and
Right.
timely. It's also very important that they're following, the diets that they're supposed to be on. Those are the things that help people, sustain their health and be able to remain in their home. And that's our goal, is to help people remain in their home. So with the combination of home health and home care,
Okay.
it helps people to be able to bridge that gap to be able to stay in place.
And that's real important to make that distinction between home health care and home care, because you don't provide medical services
Right.
at all. If a client is on medicine, your workers or your caregivers, I guess I should say, will make sure that they get the medicine when they're supposed to, but they don't administer or they don't prescribe medicine.
Right. Yeah,
Correct?
we don't prescribe the medicine and we don't administer it. We do the medication reminders. We usually ask that it's already in a pill box that's
Sure.
already prepared, and then we can do the medication reminder. But our services are not covered by health insurance.
Okay.
Our services are covered by private pay, long-term care insurance policies. I think it's
Alright.
important. A lot of people, when you talk about long-term care insurance policies, a lot of people don't know
Right.
what that is. I would say there's a lot of people right now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that could be looking into, policies with Bankers Life Insurance or Genworth, companies such as that, to help get them some policies that will help them in the future when the need arises.
Long-term care usually is pretty expensive, I guess, but it depends upon when you start.
Yeah.
So if you start at an earlier age, I would imagine the premiums are a little less. If you would start at my age, they're going to be probably prohibitive. So do you ever run into situations where someone needs your services, but they just can't afford it? I mean, what happens then?
There are times when that happens. There is a program called the Medicaid Waiver Program
Okay.
that some individuals can qualify for financially. We do not participate currently in the Medicaid Waiver Program, but once we get a referral and we qualify, whether that person can afford it privately, or whether they have long-term care insurance,
Sure.
or if they're a veteran. And I think that that's another thing that's very important. Our veteran population is extremely underserved
Yes.
with home care.
Yes.
We're probably one of the most underserved states with what's available out there. And I think it's a matter of just them knowing that it's available. So veterans who are service connected with the VA, there's a program called HHA, Home Health Aid, and
Okay.
then respite. So they can qualify for home health aid hours or respite hours. They just need to be, seeing a physician at the VA clinic, at one of the clinics, and then they can get the referral that way.
Okay.
And the VA will tell them how many hours that they have. Veterans are, the backbone of our country.
Sure.
They do so much for us, so it's nice that it comes full circle and we get to help them.
Absolutely.
Help them back. And it's one of the favorite things, our company is in 38 states.
I was going to ask that. So Cornerstone actually is a corporation, and I guess you or West Virginia has a franchise of that corporation. Would that be the right label, or just you're part of the
So
system?
So the owners of Cornerstone Caregiving are based out of Waco, Texas.
Okay.
So they hire operational directors across the country to start offices in those locations. So instead of it being a franchise, they hire me to run this
Okay.
office in Charleston, West Virginia.
I see.
So there's so they own it, but I am the one that directs this office.
You operate it. You're
Yes,
the
sir.
operation director. So let's talk about your staff. You're not a one-man show. I mean, you do a lot, but you have other people who work with you or for you. Do you have an office staff that? I know that you have someone who answers the phone. I had an experience where I called one day, very nice lady on the phone, was very helpful, very kind, sounded very compassionate. So you have a staff that you work with, correct?
Yes. Scarlett, she does all the hiring of our caregivers. She does a really great job of finding the right fit, to be able to put in the homes. And then Taylor on the other hand, they work hand in hand. Taylor does all the staffing and scheduling.
Okay.
So the way it works is when someone calls us and wants to start care, I come out and do a free home assessment.
All right.
So I set up an assessment, I come out, and we build that plan of care
Okay.
during that assessment. And that plan of care is tailor-made to that individual that needs the care.
Wow.
So everyone has different needs.
Sure.
We have no minimums, so we can do anything from 1 hour a week up to 24/7 care.
Is that right?
And some people may not be able to afford the 24/7 care, but they may be able, that's why we don't do the minimums, because they may be able to afford some hours.
Sure.
And it also helps people to get used to having someone in their home. Maybe they're not open to the idea of it, and then they do it on the small end, 1-2 hours a week here or there, and then it
Right.
opens it up to meeting some of the caregivers and realizing that this person is a very good fit for them.
Okay.
And during that plan of care, I come out and do all the plan of cares. When I do those plan of cares, we find out what the needs are of that individual, what time of day that they need the care, and then I take that back to Taylor, and Taylor matches up the best available caregiver to that person's needs.
That's an important job, I would
It is,
think, and Taylor does a great job. It seems like. Do you have trouble staffing home caregivers, or home? Is that the right term? Home caregivers. Do you have because many corporations today have trouble staffing, and no matter what your business you're in, it's hard to find workers. But do you have that challenge as well?
I think everyone in healthcare has that challenge.
Sure. We have a nurse shortage for one thing
Yeah.
in healthcare.
But one thing I can say about Cornerstone Caregiving is, everything starts at the top. And Cornerstone Caregiving gives each office every tool they need to be successful. So we're not out there on an island by ourselves. We always have help and assistance, but they have a game plan that if we follow that game plan, we should never be short with caregivers. We should never be short in any of that capacity. So if a caregiver were to call off, Taylor, Scarlett, and I, we do on call 24/7 on a call. So we communicate with our families. We let them know that the caregiver called off, and then we work hard to find a replacement for them. We have an extremely high success rate in finding replacements.
So how do you find your staff? I mean, do you advertise, or how do you get people to be caregivers?
Well, social media.
Okay.
We use social media.
You do have a Facebook page,
We have a Facebook page. We have a LinkedIn page.
a LinkedIn page. Good.
We also advertise on Indeed. That's where a lot of our leads
Oh,
come from.
sure.
And then, Scarlett does a good job of just going out in the community and putting up flyers and, visiting different college campuses that might have nursing programs, pre-nursing programs, CNA programs, and then just, job fairs. So we have different avenues that we work, and we're always trying to find new ways and innovative ways to find caregivers. So social media definitely is a good tool in our generation.
Yes.
So we're able to use that.
And for your caregivers, I'm sure you have to do a background check to make sure you're inviting people into homes. You want the clients to be safe and to feel comfortable with who's coming into their home, and to make sure that things are going to run smoothly. I know that back when I had a family member who needed some in-home caregiving, when my parents were both living, sometimes, I hate to say this, but sometimes the big disappointment then was you were planning on some respite care, perhaps, and at the last minute, no one shows. Or someone shows and they spend a lot of time sitting on the porch smoking cigarettes or something like that. It's a little disappointing. Do you ever encounter that, and how do you handle that if you do encounter that?
Well,
You've already mentioned about people calling in, but
two things that I absolutely love is communication and consistency.
sure.
So those are the two big words that I use a lot, communication and consistency. So if we were to place a caregiver in the home, our office staff, we will do drop-in visits and check on caregivers to make sure that they're doing things the right way. But we also, and I'll come out and introduce caregivers
Sure.
to family members as well, on their first day
That's good.
with that client. But communication and consistency. So I can't fix something if it's not communicated to me. So I
Right.
tell families all the time, please communicate. Please over communicate with me. A lot of agencies, you're not always going to be able to get in communication with the individual who's operating the office.
Right.
But with me, you can call me any time of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because if someone's unhappy, someone's unsatisfied, I take that personal and I lose sleep over that. And
I'm
my
sure.
office staff will let you know. I wear that on my sleeve because I really take it serious. I have a passion for healthcare. I have a passion for the elderly. I grew up in church my whole life, and I was always drawn, even as a kid, to the older generation and hearing the stories. And went to church with a gentleman, Lenny Cox. He was an usher at Wappel Park.
I know him.
And he's someone I'll never forget. And he and I had a great relationship. And just the stories of him and his wife when they celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. I always told myself I want to do that with my wife. I want to celebrate 60 years with my wife, because you don't see that a lot this day and age. But just have a passion for the older generation.
Well, that shows, and if someone visits your website, they'll see your picture and a little story about you, and it shows in what you do. So you're pretty much the face of Cornerstone here in the Charleston area. So I'm sure it is. You do take these things personal, and you want to make sure that things are right for your clients. Let's talk about the areas that you do serve. You go beyond the Charleston area, so you service Kanawha County, all of Kanawha County,
Well, I
pretty
service
much.
all of Kanawha County, all of Putnam County,
Okay,
and then we service some of Boone County as well.
some of Boone County.
Yeah, and so we work on Boone County is a area that we're starting to branch out more to.
All right.
In that area. Now Huntington is covered by Chuck Jessup, has an Ashland, Kentucky office. So if anyone in the Huntington area were to need home care, they would want to contact Chuck Jessup. And if not, they can contact me, and Chuck and I worked hand in hand together. And sometimes people from Putnam County get referred to him, and we pass the referrals back and forth and make sure that we take good care of everyone who calls. So we do cover even the Cabell County area as well.
That's a tremendous area, a lot of coverage, I should say. So when you cover Kanawha County, you must have quite a team of caregivers.
We do.
line.
We do, and we get a lot of veterans as well. Like I said, the veteran population. If you could hear the stories of just some of the other operating directors around the country, and just the amount of veterans that they serve, and just the different stories, it would give you chills
I'm
on
sure.
some of the stories that they have to tell. So it's good to be able to work for a company and serve for a company that really values our veterans.
Yes.
But in this area, between the veterans and the private pay and the long-term care individuals, you do have to have a pretty big caregiver pool.
Sure.
So we work hard on that, on building that pool. Scarlett, she works hard. She has a goal every week of how many caregivers that she wants to hire, and she works hard to achieve that goal. But that's the thing with communication, like we were talking about. We work hard. If someone's not working out, we'll try to offer even more training to see if we can
help them.
to help. But if not, we take it serious. So we're going to make sure that whoever we're putting in the home, is going to provide the care. So.
Well, reliability, I would think, would be a real important feature for Cornerstone. And for your clients, the reliability and the trust. You want to trust someone that they're going to be helpful and be there when you need them. Let's talk about the services that you provide. I know you've mentioned some of them, but if someone comes into the home, I know on the website it talks about light housekeeping tasks, like making a bed, I would assume, or maybe dusting the furniture. What types of services come to mind?
So we can clean the bathrooms. Obviously, if we're helping with bathing and showering, we're going to clean the bathrooms and clean up and make sure everything's dry and taken care of. We can help do the dishes. We can help sweep the floors, vacuum floors, mop. They help with like cooking, meal preparation.
What about walking pets?
You know, we can help with, you know, feeding pets and,
Okay.
and letting pets in and out and taking care of pets in that capacity as well.
That because sometimes, you know, they're part of the family,
Yep.
and they need care as well.
And that's why even on the plan of care, we ask, do you have pets? You know, are there cats? Because we want to make sure that, you know, we're not sending a caregiver that's scared of dogs into a
Right.
home that has a dog, or someone that's allergic to an animal in the home with someone who has that. So we always work hard to make sure that you know, we have that perfect fit.
So you mentioned that sometimes there are needs that are 24/7. That would be a huge expense, I'm sure. But if you have long-term care, is that covered 100% by long-term care, or a percentage of it? How does that work?
Everyone's policy is different.
Different,
So
yeah.
how that usually works is there's usually a daily dollar amount, and then you divide your you can divide that to determine how many hours that individual can get covered under
I see.
that policy. It usually doesn't cover 24/7, but you know, it really just depends on the premium and what they did. But 24/7 care, you know, there's individuals who need it. Maybe they don't want to go to an assisted living, so they decide to use that expense at home. And you know, that's our goal, is to help individuals age in place at home and to be able to stay in the comfort of their home, you know, where they're most comfortable.
Right. There's no place like home.
Right.
And people, I think, more so now than ever, perhaps, are wanting to stay at home because, you know, while skilled nursing is needed and those places, we're glad that they're available, there's no place like home. And I think that helps people. I know with dementia and Alzheimer's, their home is more familiar to them, and
Yeah.
that helps in many cases. Do you find your caregivers do work with dementia and Alzheimer patients?
Yes.
Correct? So they have training in that specific area.
Yes, and some individuals, you know, JT Hunter, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a local guy.
Okay.
He's a I think care transition coordinator. He's a coach. He's brilliant when it comes to helping family members and caregivers know how to handle individuals with dementia.
Okay.
But you know, I've learned a lot from him over the years in that as well. And you know, people have to know how to talk to clients with dementia. They have to know how to handle them, how to treat them, because you know, it is a sensitive situation.
Sure.
And you know, there's different reactions, and you have to know how to handle that. So yeah, we work hard on making sure the individuals know, you know, up front what the client's dealing with, and what type of things that trigger the client, set the client off. And you know, we work hard on working with them on how to overcome that and how to be successful in that environment.
That is very important, and as we mentioned earlier in the show, you know, as our population here in West Virginia continues to age, we have some of the oldest population in the country. Those situations can be challenging, but it's good that we have someone like you and someone like your services and Cornerstone that we can reach out to and say, I need some help. And you have, it seems like, all the wherewithal to be helpful. What do you see as your challenges? I'm sure there's got to be some challenges.
I'd say challenges, a lot of times, like we talked about earlier, sometimes people wait too long to get the
Yes.
care, and they may need far more care than what you know, what they're available to have, or maybe even what they're available to afford in the home.
Right.
Maybe they're beyond personal care, companion care, and they need that skilled care 24/7.
So if you're faced with a situation like that, someone reaches out to you and says, I need this, I need some help, I need some care. And then when you make your assessment, you would assess, well, this is above and beyond what we can provide.
Yes.
Would you be a resource then to maybe recommend to that client, some skilled nursing or some places where they might go for the help that they really need?
Actually, so my background is, a majority of home care, which is,
Right.
the capacity that I serve in now. But I also have 5 years of assisted living experience, assisted living and memory care experience.
Okay.
There was a brand new startup building back in 2014 down in Scott Depot, and I was the first one they hired
Is
to,
that
to
right?
head that project up, and it was a lot of fun. We got the building to full, and then I went back to home care, but I also have served in home health. So I feel like
You've seen both
I can be
sides.
an advocate.
Right.
When I go in a home now and I see that someone needs skilled care while I'm doing the assessment, and the first thing I ask is, do they have any home health? When was the last time home health was out here? And then we work on, navigating and making sure they have all the resources to make the right calls to get the right things in place for them.
So home health care, would you say, do many people know about home health care? Or I guess my question would be, is home health care readily available for citizens of our state?
Home health?
Home health.
It is. It is. There's a lot of companies out there in our area, and the hospitals, they'll do a referral if someone's in the hospital or if someone's leaving a skilled nursing facility.
Okay.
They will make a referral, and then the patient gets a choice. They get a choice form, and they get to choose which company that they want.
I see. But let's say someone's home alone, or they have maybe just a spouse or a significant other, and they don't know where to go, but they do know that they need some in-home health care. What would the recommendation be if they don't know anything about that? Google it, or not everyone does Google. Not
Yeah.
everyone has internet capability. How do you find an in-home health care provider?
Well, the thing would be, a lot of times people don't know what they need until
Right.
they need it. They don't know
Okay.
what they're looking for until they need
I
it.
guess that's my question.
But
is-
word of mouth is big on that. Asking family members, if they know anything. But I think the big thing is just calling your PCP. If you have a primary care
True.
physician, call them and say, hey, this is the problems that we're having, and these are our needs. What are your recommendations? And that primary care physician can recommend, they can recommend our services, they can recommend home health services. That doctor would have to make the order for the home health.
Sure.
For us, a doctor doesn't have to make an order. It's just an option out there that you pick and choose if you need it. But when it comes to home health, a doctor does have to make an order for
I
that.
understand. So your services through Cornerstone, I guess you work with PCPs, you work with physicians, and they are aware of you, and they know that if they have a patient who says, I need some home health care, some caregiving, they could get in touch with you. They could make a referral
They
that
sure
way.
can.
Okay, great. Scott, it has been great. Lots of great information that you have provided for my community. We appreciate you being our guest, and we look forward to having you again in the future.
Well, I appreciate you offering. Thank you.
And we look forward to you joining us again. Thank you for being with us today. Take care, and we will see you the next time.